In this Firearms series video, I'm going to interview Rick, and I'm going to ask him, growing up with guns as a child, was it really a bad thing?
Cool.
I want to talk a little bit about you personally and your enthusiasm for guns. Where does that come from?
Well, first off, most of us have developed our life attitudes from our childhood. I grew up at a time when television was in its infancy, and many of the television programs on there at that time involved firearms. There was Davy Crockett, Daniel Boone, police shows, and whatnot. So we saw a lot of shooting taking place.
Put your hands up.
I grew up in a rural area where pretty much every household had a firearm for varmints, for hunting, and for self-protection because we didn't have local police. Our area was patrolled by the state police, and if you saw a state cop out there every 3 months, that was probably, you were lucky. Not to say that they weren't really there more often, but they just didn't have a high presence. So it could be a long time before you got a police response in the event that you called the police. So most people were pretty much believing that they had to protect themselves.
So it sounds like it was the norm for you in growing up where you grew up in the mountains.
It was the norm. We were, not just with firearms and protection, we were pretty much believed in being self-reliant across the board.
Did you go hunting?
Yeah, I hunted as a youth. I also joined the Boy Scouts as a youth, and I took my firearms training from instructors at an Air Force base, their rifle range.
So how old were you when you had your first weapon?
I didn't have a weapon. I had
I'm
a
sorry,
firearm.
a firearm.
I had my toy guns, cap pistols and whatnot, from like the age of 5. My first experience with an actual firearm, believe it or not, was with a shotgun. My father owned a double-barrel 16-gauge shotgun, and in my community, they had a community association, and it was a building that had been at one time a one-room schoolhouse. And every year before Thanksgiving, they had turkey shoots down there. And we actually had these shoots at night. The building was set up with these huge windows on the back of the building. And the men would actually stand inside these windows. They were opened. And they would shoot at little blocks of wood that were mounted on like telephone poles or pilings that were ground. And they put an X on the block of wood. Whoever shot a birdshot pellet closest to the center of the X in this little like 3-inch by 3-inch square block of wood, they won that round in the turkey shoot. And my father took me down there. I was so young, they had to put a chair in front of the window, stand me up on it, and stand behind me and catch me when I flew off the chair shooting the shotgun. And there were probably 50 or 60 men there in that evening of these shoots, and they all got a big kick out of it. So I was kind of not really a competitor, but more the evening's entertainment.
How old were you?
I was 5 or 6 years old, I think, at the time that I first experienced that.
Could you even pick the gun up?
I could pick it up. Like every other child, had a hard time holding it, but I was a very determined child. Okay. And so, yeah, I got a love of guns. I like the attention. And then I went on realizing that, there was a challenge in order to be a good shot. So we bought an air rifle, and I got proficient with that, and I got proficient shooting .22s when I got into Boy Scouts. And as I, demonstrated safety and cautiousness, I was given more freedom with being able to use these firearms unsupervised. We would go out and go down to the creek, and we'd shoot at water snakes down there and things like that. And, we target shot together as youth.
How old were you when you first started hunting?
All right. Well, Pennsylvania law, you have to be 12. I turned 12. My birthday was in November. And so shortly after my birthday, the next available season to hunt for game was bear season. My father had bought me a heavy caliber rifle. Took me out and had me sighted in and get used to it. And took me bear hunting right after my birthday, which was the 11th of November. Bear season was Thanksgiving week. So I went up with him. I had school Thanksgiving week. I went up the day after Thanksgiving and hunted that last 2 days of the bear season, Friday and Saturday. And on Saturday, at 12 years old, I shot my first bear. Here I was at 12 years old, shot a bear. I was in a party of 28 adults. And it wasn't necessarily my shooting prowess that made me the successful participant of the hunt. It was the fact that these guys were all standing around talking after they had spotted this bear and taken a shot at it, and nobody thought to pursue it, that it might still be hanging around. So they just assumed that it was long gone. And I actually went after the bear and tracked it, saw a drop of blood, and was concerned that the bear was wounded. So I followed the instructions that I was taught and did everything right. And I actually was fortunate enough to encounter the bear and was able to take it. Anyway, there's a long story behind, everything, how that happened.
And like I said, we have a whole other video. So let me ask you this, Rick. So when you went hunting, what else have you killed?
I've shot deer.
Okay. And do you eat everything you shoot?
Yeah.
Did you feel bad when you killed things?
You know what? Yeah, you do. And it's strange because I had this feeling of regret or sorrow. And
The first time or all the time?
all the time. There's always a certain sadness at taking a life. I don't care whether you're a kid shooting Tweety birds. If you're normal, there's a regret.
Thank you. The people who run into these and do these shootings in the malls and get a kick out of it, I don't think they have a regret and feel bad about it. So thank you for pointing that out.
There's always a regret. And that, as an adult, I had read about the Native Americans, how they kind of apologized or offered up a prayer, and they felt regrets for taking the life of the animals that they needed to sustain themselves. And they would take a portion of that animal and offer it as a prayer gift to the Great Spirit. And in a way, just not ever even knowing about that as a child, I had some very similar feelings. I do want to include more videos in the future on our channel. Like I said, I welcome your comments as long as they're respectful, and we will portray some of these comments in future videos so that it's not just my voice and my opinions that we're talking about here. These videos are designed to be more discussion than they are my opinion, my personal opinion. And that's what the goal here is going to be going forward.
Still got it.
So if everything hit the fan and we were in in the apocalypse, okay, and we didn't have food, I would feel very confident that you would be able to provide the family with food. I don't know that I would want to eat the deer, but at least you would provide the food. Check out this next video up here and you'll hear about Rick shot his first buck, which was actually the last time he went hunting with his father. That's a wrap, everyone. You know what to do if you like this video.
You all come back now, you hear?